Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Priya Singh, Assistant Professor in the Department of Pathology at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar State Institute of Medical Sciences, Mohali. And I welcome you all to the ongoing series of basic course in biomedical research being organized at our college. And today's session is on principles of data collection. By the end of the presentation, the participants will be able to describe the data quality and outline the steps of data collection. By now, you all must be knowing about the life cycle of research. It starts with identifying the data needs, with the next step being identification of the research question. Then we formulate the study objectives and plan the analysis, followed by preparation of data collection instruments and so on. We all know that a clearly laid research question is helpful and to develop and implement a research plan and perform data collection and analysis. It is also important how data is collected so that it is reliable and it helps us to achieve the research goals. Or we will end nowhere, because an improperly collected data leads to inability to answer the research questions accurately. It leads to inability to repeat and validate the study, distort the finding, resulting in wasted resources. It misleads the other researchers and also compromise the decisions for public policy. So all these facts reiterate the importance of data collection. So what is data? Data is collection of facts. It is abstract, but when processed, it provides meaningful information to the person receiving it. You all must have heard this word time and again, not only in the research, but also in the routine life. In the modern world, it is saturated with data. It is said that data is information and information is knowledge. Knowledge is power, so data has become a form of contemporary currency. Data helps people and organizations make more informed decisions, significantly increasing the likelihood of success. So similarly, in research, a good quality data, if collected, increase the likelihood of the success of the research. This data is also the starting point for all kind of statistics. So now what is then data collection? Data collection is the process of gathering and measuring information on variables of interest in an established and systematic fashion so that it enables us to answer stated research questions, test our hypotheses, and evaluate the outcomes. The methods of the data collection may vary by the disciplines, but there is always an emphasis on ensuring accurate and honest collection. The data collection is usually tedious and time consuming, and any error can undermine the data integrity and subsequent steps in research, including statistical analysis. So we should always be very careful with our data collection process. And to achieve that, we have to know about data quality. So data quality tells us how reliable a particular set of data is and whether or not it will be good enough for a user to employ it in decision making. The various elements of data quality are: number one, the data should be accurate or valid. That is, it should measure what it intends to measure. The next is data should be reliable, or it's also known as precise, repeatable, reproducible, or consistent. It means that if the process of data collection is repeated, the data does not change. The third is the data should be complete and all the indicators of all reporting units should be collected and reported. The data should be available within the prescribed timeline and it should be presented with integrity. That is, there should be no manipulation of data and the confidentiality should be ensured. So the errors in data collection can happen while collecting the data, while data entry, data cleaning, and validation. So we must be extra careful with the data collection process. In this figure, I'll explain about the reliability and accuracy. So in the first picture, you can see that a basketball player is trying to put the basketball in the basket and he's trying again and again. And in 3 of his attempts, the ball is hitting the same point of the backboard, but it's not going into the basket. That means the technique is reliable because on repeated attempts, the ball is hitting the same place, but it is not accurate because the ball is not going into the basket. In the second picture, you can see the ball is hitting at different places of the backboard and neither it is going into the basket. So this means the technique is neither reliable nor accurate. In the third picture, you can see that the ball is hitting at the same point of the backboard and also going into the basket. This means the technique is reliable as well as accurate. Similarly, our aim with the data collection should be that it should be reliable as well as accurate. So to achieve this, we should keep in our mind basic principles for data collection. Number one is that we should keep things as simple as possible. It is very important that we should not undertake any data collection or analysis because it's just expensive or more complex than what it actually required. Secondly, we should be clear that what information we intend to gather, from where we will get this information, why is this information required, and what questions will be asked to get this information, and who will be using this information. So for this, we need to plan the entire process of data selection, collection, analysis, and use from the start. And as already explained, we should ensure that any data collected is valid, reliable, and credible. And last but not the least, we should also address the ethical issues. It is said that data collection is often the most time-consuming and expensive part of any research. So we should plan and assess the situation nicely so that there is no wastage of time and money. And to achieve this, there are certain requirements. So, number one is that the delivery and format of the measures need to be consistent, thorough, and according to the protocol. That is, we should have a comprehensive data collection approach, which we can get through question by question guide, which we'll talk about the next slide. The next thing is that the data collector should be competent, consistent with the use of technology. There should be regular forums for all members of the data collection team to ask questions, share the data collection experiences, and also receive constructive feedback. There should be systematic, multi-level, and multi-source tracking of processes accountability, and all aspects of the evaluation process should be transparent and systematically evaluated by quality assurance monitors. So for achieving quality data, there are 6 steps. Number 1 is preparation of question by question guide. First, we should develop a preliminary data collection protocol. and later systematically develop word-for-word scripts and other data collection procedures based on the insights and feedback of the people involved in the data collection. Then we should expand, evaluate, and refine word-for-word scripts and step-by-step procedure in a group process and use them as the basis of the data collection protocol. A word-for-word script can be provided because it helps the participants to know what to expect during the session. A data collector can just convey to the participant that they would be reading some of the instructions to make sure that everyone in the study has the same information. It also helps them if we explain each question of the data collection. It helps them that they know which questions they should stress upon, which questions should be repeated, and where some props can be given to the respondent. So we should describe the processes in detail under each step of the protocol and provide word-for-word scripts in areas where consistent information is needed to be given. This question-by-question guide acts as a guide for the field workers. It provides them guidance as to how the data should be collected. And it also ensures organized, accessible, accurate, and consistent information about the study. It is used as a roadmap for data collection, and once prepared initially, it can be revised as the issues are readdressed. Next step is standardized training. So all the study team members who are involved in data collection should undergo comprehensive standardized training. Always experienced and good investigators should be chosen. A conceptual framework of the study and its objectives should be told to the investigators, and a question-by-question guide should be shared with them. A thorough review of all the components of the standardized training manual should be done, and the tasks which they are expected to be doing should be explained to them properly. And if they have any queries, it should be solved. We can even arrange simulated interviews within the team, and team building activities, role-playing exercises, technology training, etc. It all can be incorporated into the training. Next step is that initiate the data collection and ensure its quality. So for this, first a pilot on-site interview can be conducted under supervision, and any issues which arise in the group should be resolved. And this procedure can be carried on until it is clear to everyone. Then we should plan data collection with a supervisor and investigators. The supervisors verifies the study forms every day for any errors, and the principal investigator should be available to answer the questions. He should also make on-site visits and solve the queries of the data collectors. It is also important to maintain a balance between timeline and completion of the study. We should never push for early completion, as time pressure during the data collection may result in dilution of the data quality. Next is the review of the collected data. So the data which is collected should be checked for quality, completeness, like whether all the questions have been filled properly, legibility, that is all the answers are readable, and for its consistency. So once the data collector or field investigator collects the data, he always checks the data collection instrument before the respondent leaves. Then the supervisor checks the instrument before leaving the location. Then all of them, taking the responsibility of the data collected, sign the instrument and write their names. And later on, the principal investigator checks the instrument when he receives them. After data collection, there should be troubleshooting of the difficulties in the data collection process. For this, debrief the process in regular meetings, provide opportunities for data collectors to share their experiences and issues. We should facilitate consistent communication and provide clarification if needed, promote group participation in problem solving, and enhance data collectors' commitment to the study. And also note the decisions on question by question guide if required. Next is validation. So how this validation is done? The study participants are selected at random and second interview is conducted with these participants. Later on, the results are compared and the feedback is provided to the individual worker if the errors are made by a particular investigator, or it is provided to the whole team if the issue is relevant to all of them. Now about ethics and data collection. To collect data ethically, a balance between two responsibilities has to be maintained. Number one is to collect and use the information in an honest manner. And number two is to treat the participants fairly while collecting the information. These ethical issues can be maintained by voluntary participation. That is, anyone who is providing us information should be a willing participant. We should inform that participant why the information is being collected from him or her, and we should obtain permission to collect information prior to using specific data collection method or tool. That is, we should have an informed consent. Then there should be protection of the participant identity. We must be clear in telling the participant whether we will be maintaining what level of confidentiality or anonymity of the participant. Then the data collected should be secured. That is, the data which we collect should have limited access to all the individuals, and we should remove identifying personal information from the electronic database and replace it with an assigned identification number. And it would be inappropriate to manipulate the information to fit our research question and goals when the information actually suggests otherwise. That is, we should use the data properly. Now, a word about a big data. So this big data is characterized by large volume, that is tremendous volume of data. Number two, velocity. It means that the data is being formed at an unprecedented speed. Then there is variety, that is a big data has all kinds of data types, and this diversity divides the data into structured and unstructured data. And last but not least is value, and this represents low value density. Extracting high quality and real data from this massive variable and complicated data set is difficult because diversity of data sources brings abundant data types and complex data structures, and it increases the difficulty of data integration. And as the volume is tremendous, it is difficult to judge the data quality within a reasonable amount of time. Also, the data changes very fast and the timelines of data is very short, which necessitates higher requirements for processing technology. And no unified approved data quality standards are formed for this big data. So what we should aim at is an effective data quality assessment process with a dynamic feedback mechanism. This dynamic feedback mechanism should be devised, and data should always be checked for availability, usability, reliability, relevance, and presentation quality. Last but not the least, don't forget to back up your data. These are the references used. Thank you.